Minute 15. Okay, we're live.
I'm live?
Okay,
I'm live.
hi and welcome to MCC Radio. My name is John.
And my name is Brian.
And on today's episode 7.
Yep. So we're going to be talking today about arcades and board games. Everybody loves those.
Yeah, and especially how everything sort of ties in together and how it all works and how these companies took our money. It's like, shut up and take my money.
1 quarter at a time, all the way up until, the board games and the more expensive cabinet games that you could buy. And, they just had tons of them.
And the Ataris and the Intellivisions and
the cool thing is everything
full.
just kind of wrapped right back and kind of went back to the start. And, where the board games and all that started becoming the video games. And it was like, there's a lot to go on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we can come up with some good ideas and chatter and see where this goes. So.
Yeah. Also, I want to bring up some housekeeping items. I just want to let everybody know, right? Everybody out there, me and Brian have worked really hard to restock our store. So we got over 333 items on the store right now. A lot of the stuff, you'll see that'll be sold out, but there's a lot of new stuff on there, and we're trying to restock some of the stuff that we sold before. So we have been going on hunts, right?
Lots of video game hunting.
Yeah, lots of video game hunting. I was with Steven today, about half an hour ago. And so check out our store. Christmas is coming up. If you want to start your Christmas shopping early, get something cool and retro for friends, family, what have you, you know where to check us out. Plus, I want to tell everybody in the U.S., okay, everybody out there in the United States of America, the Man Cave Cinema now ships, or we have been all summer long, but we can ship anywhere in the U.S., flat rate $9, okay? Better than eBay, better than anywhere else. So, trust.
And don't forget, you're seeing prices probably in Canadian, and our dollar isn't the greatest right now. So you guys have the upper hand.
Well, they get an extra 30% off just from the exchange. Because it's, 75 cents Canadian to $1 American.
I know, that's so bad, but, what are we going to do about it?
Well, they benefit, but we don't.
We kind of lose out on this one. But.
So, so you can get that deal. So please check us out. We got a lot of stuff we want to give, homes for these things.
And sadly, summer's ending, so everybody's crawling back into their cave. I know I've been spending a lot of time in mine, so, the summer's gone now. We're kind of putting it behind us, and it's time to get back into those caves and start playing some video games.
Yeah.
Whatever you like to do in there.
Exactly. So, anything else, Brian? Any housekeeping stuff on your end?
I just want to bring up a little bit about our forum again.
Oh, yeah.
We're slowly adding to it, but we would like to have some ideas. So if you got any ideas, if you want to discuss anything specific,
we need people to participate.
Yeah, we need you to get on there. We need to get this thing going because we set it all up and it's ready to go. So if you have any ideas, any thoughts, if there's something, even if it's tips or something you want to learn about fixing things like the Atari components or whatever. Well, let's get that going, so then we can start building it up, and I think we can really get something good going.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's start. Episode 7. By the way, today, on September 11th, we'd like to sort of also, bow our heads to all the heroes and all the people who died during the September 11th attacks, but also on a sort of nicer note, I don't know, for lack of a better word, or in a note that relates to this podcast and to our website, the Atari 2600 is 39 years old today.
Yes, I saw that right away. I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah, I know. So 39. So next year it will be 40 years old. How freaking old are we?
It's as old as me. I mean, that's crazy. I play a system that's the same age as me.
Exactly. Okay, so arcades.
Okay, so
your favorite games. First of all, let's talk about what was your favorite top 10 or top 5 or top whatever you can come off your head favorite arcade games.
All right, so
that you actually played in the arcade.
That's the thing. Like when I was a kid, I didn't frequent too many arcades. Like there was the few in the mall. We didn't have too many of them in Canada, unfortunately.
Wait, yes, we did.
Did we?
Yes.
Where? I didn't.
Lots of places.
I guess maybe I was too young at the time to
Yeah,
know
the downtown cores like Toronto
Yeah,
and Montreal,
no.
every corner had an arcade.
I lived in the burbs, and in the burbs there was nothing. But there was Chuck E. Cheese, which
Yes.
was, Nolan Bushnell's creation.
Yes.
And whenever I went there, it was different then. Today, I've noticed it almost looks like a mini casino. Like, everything's about winning tickets. It's about just luck, pushing a button. There's no arcades. I'm like, where's the arcades? I saw like 2. And one was like Rockstar, what do you call it? The one with the Guitar Hero.
Yes.
And the other one was like Deal or No Deal or something. I don't know. So everything was just about winning tickets. But when I was a kid and I went to Chuck E. Cheese, it was all arcades. It was Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Centipede. It was the classics. And I have to admit, Donkey Kong was the first I always looked for. I'd literally hunt for that game.
Really?
And every time I'd go into any arcade, that would be the game I'd look for.
That's the one I hated the most.
Well,
I always wanted to play it, but it would eat my quarter within like 5 seconds.
yeah, it's a brutal game. And, I mean, they made a whole friggin' movie on it. I mean, the game itself is it's very hard. Even when you play it at home on your emulator with a controller and stuff, it's a brutal game. It's like you're done in like you said, 5 to 6 seconds. Oftentimes, you're lucky to make it to level 2. Sometimes,
Yeah, exactly.
You could spend all day and still get. But I just love the game. I don't know. It was one of those games. I had it on my Intellivision, and it was always my favorite on the Intellivision. I always played it. I didn't have any other systems at the time, so going to the arcade and being able to play real Donkey Kong was always like exciting to me.
Yeah.
Another one that I always looked out for was Super Pac-Man, which for whatever reason
Was that the one when Pac-Man grew super
he
big?
grew really big.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I played it once as a kid. I was like, I love this game, and then I couldn't find it anywhere. It drove me nuts. Every time I went into like an arcade, they would have Pac-Man, they'd have Miss Pac-Man, but never Super Pac-Man. So I think maybe it's one of those ones that came a little bit later or wasn't as popular.
It came in the if I remember correctly, it came in the later 80s, but it never really took off. Like a lot of the arcades didn't stock it because the Pac-Man craze was done. There was newer and better
going
games.
down. It was. People would just stick to the classic Pac-Man in that point.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or the Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Well, Miss Pac-Man stayed, but Pac-Man would be gone. But I mean, everybody was over Pac-Man at that time.
Yeah, I think they were looking for something newer, something more. This is around the time when more of the platform style, or whatever you want to call it. The fighting stuff, or starting to emerge. Things like Kung Fu and. Things with a little bit more elaborate storylines were starting to pop up. So, I mean, as far as me going to the arcade, that was my, until I was a teenager, and things were different. Things were much different, and I was playing games like RoboCop and Chase Headquarters or Chase HQ, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I was playing those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
And I remember those being the cool
the early 90s sort of video games.
So those older ones would still be there, but I was always drawn to those ones because you always feel like you want to play something that was one step higher than what you had at home, right?
Right, of course.
Your console, like if you had an Atari and you were playing, what's a good example there? Even just Donkey Kong on the Atari.
Yeah.
You see how different it is when you go to the arcade.
Yeah.
So you always felt like the arcade had to, be one up from the cabinets you had at home.
Right.
So
right.
Those were my, unfortunately, I didn't play a lot of other classics. I wish I did. But.
Okay, okay. Now, again, I'm showing my age, so don't. Okay, I can think back to the mid '70s, where there was this arcade in this underground mall in Montreal that was near my godparents' house, and my godfather took me there, and there was this game called Stellar or something. It was black and white, and it was more or less a starfighter simulator. You had your crosshairs on the screen, and you shot at these things that looked like the Enterprise.
Yeah, so almost like a Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly, and it had like this big, bulky sort of yoke controller on it, and you had to shoot these things. And since then, totally fell in love with it. So then so when I was a teenager, back in the mid '80s, so we're talking here 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, but mostly 94, 95 I remember the most. There was like an arcade in this plaza called Pinocchio's in Montreal that I freaking loved, one of the best ones. Then there was a chain of arcades that were in Montreal that are all over the malls called Labyrinth, and some were better than others. But again, the best thing about the mall ones was, your parents go, "Oh, we're gonna go shopping over here." It's like, "Bye, I'll be in here. Come and get me."
I remember the one I always went to. It was right in the food court. So you'd be sitting there eating, and you'd be like, eating pizza, and then you'd be looking at the arcade, eating pizza, looking at the arcade. It's like, I'm going to the arcade. Yeah, you can go shop some more. I'll be in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and I need some quarters.
Exactly.
Or $5 or whatever it costs to get a nice good chunk of change. Cause
I used to go with like 50 cents. Okay, I used to go to 50 cents, but I used to be gone for like 3-4 hours. Go hang out with people.
Just watch the people play, right?
Watch people play, talk to people. I had friends there, hang out, and then when, I felt like, okay, it's time to put in the quarter. And that's why I had to be careful what I played. So if it was something that I totally sucked at, like on Donkey Kong, it's like, no, I want to play longer than 50 seconds.
Yeah. You want something that gives you more lives or gives you more, challenge, not more...
It's something that or it's easier.
Something, you can actually play, like... But I find, though, a lot of those old games, or a lot of those arcade-style games, were designed that way. They were designed to steal your quarter within a few seconds, right? Even when you were really good. I've played a couple of these on the emulators at home, and I'm like, even just playing RoboCop, I'm like, holy crap, that would have been another quarter, that would have been another quarter, that would... Like, you get to this point where there's just everything firing at you. It is, like, literally impossible to play it without continuous, putting in another quarter, more continue.
Yeah.
And that's way different than when you're playing things on your consoles.
No, because you don't get that feeling, right? Because if you die, you just restart, press the reset button, and you start again.
And they didn't make them as tricky or as hard. Like, they didn't... when you play RoboCop on Nintendo, it's an okay game, but it's not impossible when you're walking through it. You don't have everything firing at you. You got like 2 or 3 guys shooting at you. But in the arcade, it was just like 5 guys come on this side, 5 guys come on that side, and they're just shooting at you. There's guys in the sky. There's, crap flies by.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's literally impossible. Like, he's dying every second, right? If the Nintendo did that, you wouldn't play it.
No,
you'd be like,
absolutely.
Even with Endless Continues, you'd still be like...
And I have a perfect example. When we were on vacation, and we had that Pac-Man / Galaxian game there.
Yep.
Or Miss Pac-Man Galaxian.
Yeah, I've seen one of those.
Steven more or less grew up on the Jack Pacific, Miss Pac-Man, Pole Position, Mappy, and some other game.
Yeah.
And then I got him the Pac-Man one. So he's played those two. So the thing is, he's had training on just pressing reset to restart the game and not having to worry about quarters.
Not popping in a quarter.
But when we went to the hotel and we were playing the game, I'd give him it was $1, but anyways, put in $1, and dude, he'd be there like 10 minutes. Like, he'd pass like 10 screens on the first man. Because he's so well trained on it. Used to playing. Yeah, he got so used to playing and remembers all the patterns that he can fly through it. So it's like, damn, I wish I had that thing. When we had to practice it, we had to keep on pumping in quarters type of thing.
That's true, yeah. Because you wouldn't have, unless you were a person who could frequent the arcade all the time and spend all your money there, you didn't go very often, right? So then, you don't get the experience, you don't get the practice. You definitely didn't have the arcade feel at home. Like I said, I could have played in the Intellivision Donkey Kong, and it was so easy. I mean, it's an easy game. Like, the barrels are slow, the board is simple. It's it's not even half as complex. So playing that is definitely not training for when you walk into an arcade.
No.
And actually, I even remember watching that the King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Steve Wiebe is playing in his garage, just continual.
Wow.
And, he's obviously not pumping in quarters. He's probably resetting the machine every time. But, I mean, you get to that point where he could probably play for an hour or 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
In the same one. But that's just practice after practice after practice. And you couldn't get that if you only went to an arcade once in a while. Right?
No.
Like I said, I only went mostly on birthday parties when we had Chuck E. Cheese. And, when I got older as a teenager, I would go to the mall and I'd be able to play. My last kind of memories of going into an actual arcade would be where my cottage was in Muskoka. We have a cottage in Bala which is like a small
Yeah,
spot.
I know where that is.
And so they had a barricade, and so every summer when I'd go to the cottage, if my friend was with me or whatever, we'd walk down and play in a barricade. But even they didn't have a lot of arcades that were classics. Like they had RoboCop and Chase HQ, which were my two favorites, but that was about it. Like a lot of the stuff they had a few pinball machines, but it wasn't like the classic arcades like
right.
So I remember they even had one that was like it looked like it just basically had a Nintendo inside of it because it was Nintendo's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is a brutal game. If anybody's played it, it's brutal. Like I've spent hours playing it and perfecting it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I know how to play this, and I put my quarter in, and then I was playing. But it's set on like a timer or something. So once it hits like a minute or something, you have to put in another quarter.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, this is gonna cost me like $7 in quarters.
And that trick with those games was to get you hooked onto the gameplay, where you keep on pumping in quarters, right?
Yeah.
Not to frustrate you like the other ones did, who say, "Fuck, I'm going to beat this and put another quarter." They had to change their marketing style slightly differently. But let me go back to a couple of the games that I really enjoyed playing. I totally enjoyed Zaxxon.
Zaxxon, yeah.
Could never beat the first board. Could never get into space, but still loved it. Okay.
Yeah, I've never played that on an arcade. Never.
Oh, awesome.
Only on the Coleco and the...
The Coleco's the closest thing to it,
Yeah.
and I played it on the Coleco. So, but the arcade's just... I have the emulated game also. Sinistar.
That one escapes me.
Okay. Very good game. You can look it up when after this type of thing. What else was there?
You seem to be more into the space.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm more of a space guy.
So that's the thing. I wasn't. I'm still not. So I would pass by a lot of the space games, like save Space Invaders, which is a classic.
Yes, exactly. Gyrus was another favorite of mine.
Galaxian.
No, Galaga. I hated Galaxian. Too slow. I found I liked Galaxian, but Galaga was just more.
What about Gorf?
Hated Gorf. Even though I played it, it was just.
And that game has been ported onto everything.
Yeah, I know, and the arcade one talked to you like it would say weird words and stuff like that, so you get attracted to it. But like I play it, I'm like, why am I playing this? This is
torture.
It's just I didn't like it. But people love it. I get it, but it's just that thing. What else was there?
Isn't it a Robotron? Is a
Robotron. Never played it. I was afraid to play it. It just looked too fucking hard.
Too hard, yeah.
It looked way too hard, and the people who played it, like they were nuts playing it. Yeah, Robotron was another one. This is taking me to another arcade that was at another mall. What else was there? There was Warp, a game called Warp. Same idea as Laser Blast for Activision. But they also have it... Actually, I think you can get the Warp homebrew for the 7800. So it was like a sort of Galaxian Space Invader style game, but you can hit the warp button, everything slows down. So if things got over too much for you, you can hit warp. And you had only so many warps per level, and you would slow everything down. And you can take pot shots and finish off the level and move on. So that was cool. I played that one. Robotron, like I said, scared me. Defender scared me. Played it again. 3 seconds, game over. No thanks. Shit.
What about the games like Venture or Burger Time?
I hated Burger Time.
I mean, I just did my last man cave thing.
I know. I hated Burger Time. I don't know why. It never got into it.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, the arcade game was really cool, which was based on the Temple of Doom.
I know I've played that on the Commodore 64 when I was younger, but I didn't even know it was on the arcade.
Yeah, it was. They had a version of that. They made Sega made a version of Pitfall 2 for the arcade.
On the arcade?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
What else was there? And then as time went on, and then Dragon's Lair came out. Again, never played it because it scared the shit out of me.
Then it all became the graphical style, right?
But it was all Laserdisc, right? And there was some of the Atari, for instance, brought out Firefox based on the movie Firefox. So it was a mixture of graphics and
videos, yeah.
So at the same time. So that was okay. Kind of. I mean, it wasn't
kind of like you're watching a movie, but you're playing a game, and Yeah, I remember Dragon's Lair. I remember that the place I went to in the mall, it had Dragon's Lair. And I didn't understand that because I was watching people play it. And I'm like, it doesn't look like you're playing much. It looks like you're just watching this, like,
Yeah,
this
you're just
graphics.
you're just moving the guy in different directions. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's like up, okay, next clip, down, next.
Yeah, that would kind of drive me nuts. I don't know.
But people played it.
Yeah,
people
well,
loved
it was new. I mean, it was different, right?
Yes, exactly.
It was, you were looking at a cartoon, and oftentimes when you would go to an arcade, you would expect it to be the best you can get, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so when you see something like that, and you're like, whoa, like, that's taking something like, Pac-Man, which was very simple, like a circle, and eating more circles, to this full-on cartoon.
Yeah. Yes.
It's just, I don't know. The fact that it's more video, I think, than games.
It is.
Right?
It is more. But then a lot of them. There was another game called Mach 1, which was like a flight simulator sit-down game, and the background was video. But when you moved around and shot UFOs and stuff like that, that was all sprites and graphics. So the background, when it moved around, like when you would move around, that would be it type of thing.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by those sit-in things. Like even something as simple as pole position.
Yes.
Where you actually sat inside this thing. You had a steering wheel. I always thought that was cool. I mean, it takes up a shit ton of room.
Oh, it does. but it's cool. And then another couple other favorite ones before I forget them was Star Trek. They have it for the Atari 2600. It's the old Star Trek arcade game where you got the little Enterprise. The screen's broken up into 3 screens. You got your systems, your tactical view, and then your front view on the bottom.
Huh. That sounds complicated to me.
No, it's actually cool. I forget that Star Trek something. Yeah. I'm actually really good at it upstairs.
Oh.
But they had a sit-down arcade version, and they had like those. Oh fuck, Tempest was another favorite of mine. They had one of the spinny Tempest things, so that's how you controlled the Enterprise. So you would shoot. If they shot at you, your shields would go down. And it was actual sit-down one. And as soon as you put a quarter in, you hear Spock's voice, "Welcome aboard, Captain." And it's like you felt so Trekkie-ish. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of the sit-down ones or the stand. And then they even like games like Hang On, where you're sitting on a motorcycle and you're
Yeah.
They actually had those in the where I was at Niagara Falls. I believe they had it in that arcade.
Yeah.
Where you actually sit on the machine. They still had like the Cruisin' USAs and stuff like that, which
right.
The sit-in stuff, which got it's interesting. It's funny. It really just kind of puts you into the game, right? It's,
yeah, exactly.
It's that step before they're going to come into the whole virtual reality thing, which I'm not too crazy about myself, so I don't want to see it going there. But
it's the whole immersion thing, is being immersed in
putting you into the game. And
yeah, exactly.
You're not just sitting in front of a screen, but you actually feel like you're doing something. And,
yeah.
And I mean, I didn't have too much experience with those. Like most arcades that I've been in only had like a couple of those because the space, right? They could probably have like 3 cabinets in the space it would take to.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure even today when people try to build their arcades, like I've seen quite a few of them. Like going on Facebook, people put images and they build their own arcades in their thing. Most of them are the stand-up units because they take up the least amount of space.
Like a sit-down version just takes up way too. Even Pole Position, which is a fairly older game, and it doesn't take up so much room as some of the later in the 80s sit-down games. Like another one that I loved was by Atari called Road Blaster, which had like there was a rockin' tune playing in the background, and those arcades, like we used to go. We were 17, okay, not even 18 in Montreal where it's legal to drink. We'd go downtown with fake ID, go get drunk, walk up the street to the arcade, and just play video games for the rest of the night. So that was, I don't know, too much fun. Anyway.
Yeah, and then there was also, after a lot of the arcades started to disappear, sadly, the ones that you would see would be those, what do they call them, the tabletop ones? Where we were just looking at those in the store last week. The ones where you actually sit down and it's flat. And,
it's like a coffee table.
Yeah, and then you could I guess they made those so you could eat or something. Like, what was the reasoning for those? Like,
okay, those were back in the 80s. They came out, but a lot of like pizza places had them.
Yeah, because it would be like a table.
Yeah,
and a video game at the same time.
Exactly. So you can sit down and eat and play. A lot of bars had them like that too. Again, you can put your drink on there.
Now, I always thought the angle was odd though, because I feel like it's strange that you're playing and you're looking down,
yeah.
instead of straight, right?
Yes, yes.
So I just thought, it's kind of odd, like when you're playing it, and like especially Pac-Man, where you get right into that corner, and you're like, I don't
you
know.
got to sort of lean forward and
Yeah.
look at it. Yeah. I know. There was There was this mall in Florida that we went to back in the 80s, and they had a skating rink inside the mall in Florida. Get this, but they had like 4 tabletop games, and one of them was Galaxian. And me and my brother played doubles, so I would see it one way for player 1, then whoop, it would spin around for player 2, right?
Yeah.
So he would play, and then I would just spin around type of thing.
Yeah,
So
well, that was it, right? Those were the last places to really have the arcades still kicking around, right?
Yeah,
the bowling alleys and the skating rinks and all them,
yeah, exactly.
pizza places. They were the last of. Well, at least here, anyways. In the States, I know there's it's different. They have arcades still. They have they've got those retro arcades, which I'm always jealous seeing them. I'm like, oh man, I wish I was there.
Road trip.
Road trip to the States.
Yeah, that's it.
Road
trip.
They got that retro show or retro expo or something.
That's right. That's right.
I'd love to see that. See them.
But the thing is, Brian, there was a lot of stuff but it came either like you're my brother's age, so my brother missed a lot of that stuff until later on too. Mm-hmm. But before, like when he was like a baby, I'd like I said, I'd be like 10 years old, I'd go, or 11, 12, whatever. But I'd tell my parents, I'm going to be in here, come and get me type of thing when you're done. So that's how.
Yeah, unlike today where, the kids are coddled more and we don't let them go. And
yeah, exactly.
You stay right here within arm's length of me. You're not going in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I had the advantage of being around when the stuff first sort of took off, which was a lot of fun.
So and the thing too is like at that time, like today is much different. We got so much. We got our computer. We can have anything we want now.
Yeah.
Then you didn't have it. So unless you were a lucky few that had the Atari or had a console system, there wasn't much you could get. So what did they do? They started making things like this.
Yes. There we go.
Frogger, well, not just Frogger, but these little mini-cades, which I don't know if it's really going to supplement the not being at the arcade, but it was definitely a good start. I mean,
No, it didn't supplement that, but it brought the arcade experience home.
Yeah.
Because you had like a tiny cabinet that didn't take up half your house. It would sit on your desk, and it'd be just like the arcade.
And
well, I mean the graphics in the game or in the sound wasn't exactly the same, but it was like when I was a kid and these things came out, I shit myself, literally.
Yeah, I know. I remember. I knew people that had them. I never had them, so I was always kind of like jealous.
No, I never had them either.
Yeah, and it's like, where do they get these things? And it's very primitive in a sense that it's the LCD screen.
Yeah.
And if you were a teenager in the 90s, you'll know when the Tiger Electronics all came out.
Yes.
And these things were they were compressed down into more like a Game Boy size at this point.
Yeah.
But this was the first attempt of actually saying let's bring that arcade experience back into your home.
Yeah.
Where you might not have an Atari or an Intellivision or a ColecoVision because not a lot of people had them, right?
Because they were more expensive.
Well, yeah, and to try and convince your parents or whatever at that time to say, drop a few $100s on a system, which they're like, what is this thing? And then even then, you still needed the games, which were
expensive.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know. I lucked out. I got my 2600 back then as a Christmas gift from my aunt and uncle. So it was like.
Well, my mom said, she still tells me to this day, she's like, we had to save and scrimp and, to get you guys that Intellivision. And, I was so young at the time. I didn't really know what it was. Like, we got it, and then my brother was playing on it, and I kind of learned from him. But, I had no idea how much this thing cost.
Yeah.
But she told me, that back then, it was really expensive, like a few $100s. Like
yeah, exactly. But a few $100s back then in the late 80s was...
Well, like an Xbox today,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, you buy an Xbox 360 today, or
exactly.
You're paying good, shitloads amount of money. So
here's another example, folks.
Pac-Man.
So there's Pac-Man and Galaxian also. They're available on our store.
Yeah.
Yes, I know it's a shameless.
We're just grabbing our store stock for these.
Yeah, I know it's a shameless plug, but we're doing it anyways.
And it works. What we're talking about, and
this Pac-Man thing. What kid? Okay, wouldn't want to have a version of Pac-Man in their house. Even though it was, again, game-wise, it wasn't exactly the same.
Yeah, and today, you look at this thing and you're like, this thing looks awesome. Like, I would definitely have this sitting in my man cave. There's no doubt I would. I mean, this does not belong in a box. This belongs on your shelf.
Yes.
Even if you're not going to play it, I mean, it looks cool. But back then, I'm sure even the playing of it was cool because you were like, you didn't have that any other way. I mean,
no. It's true.
And look at the Atari Pac-Man. I mean, come on. Like, I mean, that's been talked to death, I'm sure. But we all know where that went, right? So, aside from these tabletop things, we also had... Sorry, I'm reaching over here. Board games, which is another piece of what we want to talk about here. Because this was another attempt to say, let's bring the gaming into the house. Sure, this wasn't the first board game ever. We all know there was many before it. Monopoly is the most popular board game in the world. Things like that. There was Life, there was Clue. But they said, let's start bringing the video games are popular.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's bring them to the and today you think, well, this is kind of ridiculous, like to think today if they would do something like this, because you'd be like, why would you do this when you can just pull out your Nintendo 6, whatever. Like even when this came out, it was the arcades were there, but you at least could say I could have a home version of this that I can play.
Well, exactly. And look, and it was exactly you can play with your buddies with this. You can have fun with this. It was a board game because back in the 70s and 80s, everybody played board games. Really.
Yeah. And like and the artwork and stuff like this is just. Sadly, this is not for sale. This is mine. I keep this. And I had to hunt it down because Donkey Kong being one of my favorite games. But I mean the artwork and stuff. It's just it looks neat, and the gameplay. Like they really tried to emulate the gameplay as much as possible. I mean as much as you can do with tokens and dice and cards.
But at the same point, gameplay is gameplay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If when you design a video game and you design a board game, the ideas mesh.
Yeah, exactly. And
like you want to get from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
That's the trick, and things are coming at you. Same thing with a board game.
Yeah.
You can. It's easily.
It's a little bit different because you don't have the dexterity problem that you would have with a video game, right?
Right.
So anybody can play a board game and not have to worry about the controllers and
yes.
And there's a little bit more slower. I mean, this game itself, it's very similar to playing Snakes and Ladders. I mean, the same idea. But I mean, there's Donkey Kong, right? You're just trying to get to the top. And what are you doing in Snakes and Ladders? You're just trying to get to the top, right? So, I mean, it did mesh well. And so they did a good job. And I know they made things like Zaxxon. We saw that the other day.
Yeah, we saw Zaxxon the other day.
What was the other one? Berserk. They made...
yeah, could I tell the story about my Berserk thing?
You and your Berserk.
So, before I opened up the store, I still had the Man Cave Cinema going, but I didn't move into selling Atari and retro games and what have you. And I was on one of my trips with my son to his thrift stores, and we went in, and I saw a Berserk board game, and I freaked. I go, oh, this is so cool, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, I never thought about buying it. I just took a picture of it, posted it on Facebook.
Thought it looked cool.
Yeah, it just looked cool, nostalgic. Posted it on Facebook so my friends can see it, and everybody say, oh, that was so cool, blah, blah. I regret not buying it. See, totally regret not buying it.
That would never happen with me because I was always a board game freak. I love board games. I've been collecting board games. I used to make my own board games.
I used to do that too. I used to do that too.
Especially board games based on the classic video games. Like the other one I have, and the reason why I brought this one is because we're now going into Nintendo days with The Legend of Zelda, right? So, whoops. We're just going to show that there. Yeah, so now we're like way past Donkey Kong here. We're in the Nintendo era.
Yeah.
And they still were making board games. So people were buying this stuff. I found this in a thrift store. I got lucky as hell. I walked in there and I saw it from the corner and I raced to it. I'm like, oh my god, Legend of Zelda board game.
You can sell this for $40.
Probably. Let's see, what did I pay for it? $1.49. Okay, that would be a good profit.
Yes, exactly.
But no, it's not for sale. And but this one, I mean, again, the graphics on it, it looks neat. It might not be the same kind of gameplay as you would get from the video game. Obviously, I mean, Zelda is a real awesome game. I mean, if I had to pick one game for the Nintendo that I had to own, that's the one, right? And so
you
Zelda,
and everybody else on the planet.
And I know they made a Super Mario Brothers board game. I've never actually seen one. I've seen it on YouTube and stuff, but to actually see one physically, no. But they did. They ran through a lot of the classic Nintendo titles.
Yeah, okay.
And again, it was just trying to get players, get it into their homes, and I'm sure it was part of that whole 3-point sales thing or whatever.
Exactly.
Get the board game, then you're gonna play the board game. You're gonna want the handheld, and then you're gonna want the original Nintendo, and other than just the people saying, well, I can't afford a Nintendo, so I'm gonna buy this.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that would have been the case. I know that happened a lot with the LCD games, though.
But the thing is, a lot of people love Zelda, so to have the board game would be something else cool to have about it.
And even just, I'm just gonna take the board out. For those who are just listening to the audio portion of this, I'm just taking out the board just to give it a quick show. But I mean, the artwork is awesome. Like, I would frame this and put it on my wall, like, even if I never play the game. Unfortunately, there was a few pieces that were missing that I had to kind of create myself, like recreate. Okay. But you know what? That happens with board games, right? You lose pieces. Everybody loses. It's like
who hasn't lost Monopoly money?
Exactly, or any of the even just your old toys, right? You always lose pieces, right? So, and obviously that's what increases the value on these things, right? The more intact it is, the more pieces in there.
Yes.
This I bought it in a thrift store, so I can't complain, right? It's not like I went on eBay and paid $40 and got this and went, oh, it's missing pieces, right? But I mean, the pieces that are missing were very minor. So, but yeah, it's fun. And so that's what we had to deal with back then.
Exactly.
If you didn't have the arcade, if you couldn't afford to go to the arcade or whatever, you only got so far on your Atari in most cases, right? I even today when I play my Atari, I probably burned through like 5 or 6 games in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it's like, okay, that was fun. Next, that was fun. Next, but it's not the same, right? So, but yeah, and so another one I wanted to show off, and I thought this is what brings everything full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Is these guys came out. Now this is a handheld electronic Monopoly. So the reason why I brought this is because I just wanted to show how video games became board games, and now board games became video games.
Yeah, exactly.
So everything just kind of went full circle, and we all know that you can get Monopoly on every system. Like it was on a Nintendo, it was on
PC.
I used to play it on the Commodore 64.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't a new concept, but the fact is that the board games, the traditional board games, became video games when the video games were becoming board games.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was kind of funny, and I bought this because I thought that at the time I didn't have Monopoly on any other portable system. I didn't have it on a Game Boy or anything like that.
Right.
And I thought, this is awesome. This is like full on Monopoly, the travel version, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you can play by yourself. Like there's a computer player in there and stuff. So I think you could actually play against opponents as well, like real people. But it's been a while since I fired this thing up. I also have like a Scrabble one. It was the same idea. But this all got replaced by our phones, right? Yeah,
exactly. Everyth's on our phones.
Yeah, I play Monopoly on my phone now, which is 10 times better than this. I mean, this thing's clunky. It takes batteries. It talks, which is neat. And but you got all these like buttons and stuff. I mostly keep it around for more of a collectible thing. Like it just looks neat. And the other board game, what was the other one I have? Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry and Battleship.
They
started. So at some point, a lot of these LCD games started becoming like ridiculous on the market. Like everything was in an LCD.
Yes.
Like you had, like I said, with the Tiger games, almost every single popular Nintendo title was ported into these little things like Castlevania and Mega Man. And,
yes.
So those were just everywhere, and then these board games started coming out, and those were everywhere. And I was actually just looking in my man cave and realizing how many of these little LCD things that I have, and I have like a Pitfall one. I have Keystone Keepers.
No way!
Yeah, I can't remember when they came out. I saw them in the store. I'm just like, that's awesome. Gotta have them. It was like classic Atari handhelds.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, a lot of this got replaced.
But let me ask you this though: did you ever play the original Nintendo LCD handhelds?
I have some.
Shut up!
Yeah. No, I got those too.
You have like the Mario Brother ones?
I have
where they like have to take the pies or the pizzas and
I got I got a Parachute, I think it's called. I got that one. I have Super Mario Brothers. I have it on the little handheld LCD or with the Game & Watch, and I have the keychain version of it. What else? I have Donkey Kong.
Shut up!
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It opens up like
the foldable ones. Yeah.
I have that. It's sitting in my man cave right now. What else did I have? I had an obsession with those things for a while. Actually, I wrote an article about it quite a while about handheld games. And I was buying tons of them, and I got to the point where I'm like, I have a drawer of these handhelds, and there's no way to really display them other than just kind of, I don't know, kind of put them on the shelf. But
yeah.
I mean, I started getting to a point where I had to stop. I'm like, I'm buying all these like LCD things, and when you have a Game Boy and you could just pop a game in, and it's
different. But the point is, what grade is it? Grade 7. My friend Ken. He was Japanese. His dad worked for Hitachi Canada, but every so often he'd go back to Japan and do some work there, and he bring back Ken some cool shit. And Ken brought these Nintendo things from Japan, and I nearly shit myself. I don't know how many times I almost got caught by the teacher playing them during class.
I just remember being on the school trips and all the kids having them on the bus, like. When we went to Quebec, that's I guess it was almost like a 10-hour bus ride.
Yeah, it's a 10-hour bus ride.
And that's all we had. We didn't have Game Boys. There was no Game Boys. So everybody had about 4 or 5 of these things, and every rest stop we'd have a 20-minute, half an hour rest stop.
Yeah.
Everybody would be swapping them, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I got Cement Factory. Oh, I got, and some of them were the Tiger ones. So
yeah.
I remember playing Double Dragon on one, and I had, I think at the time, what did I have? I had Mega Man 2, I think, at that time. And I don't know, we were just swapping them like crazy, and you'd have to remember to get yours back at the end. But, it was fun. I mean,
exactly.
The games themselves, they didn't really keep you very long, but, I mean,
No, they were fun, dude.
They were fun.
They were fun because it was before any sort of portable game that was ever conceived later on. I mean, this was it, right?
Yeah, until Game Boy came out.
Yeah, until then.
And even then.
But that was later in the late 80s and early 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when Game Boy did come out, I remember there was like one kid in my class that had one.
Yeah.
And everybody was like wrapped around this kid, like, this kid's like, ooh. And I think he only had Tetris too, like the game it came with.
Yeah.
But yeah, things changed at that point, right? For some reason, though, the handhelds still kept going. I think because they were cheap, easy to manufacture. They branded the shit out of them. They had the Castlevania logo on there or whatever. It looked neat. The gameplay would be meh. It wouldn't keep you going for an hour or half an hour or 20 minutes even, right? It was quick. Whereas like a handheld today, you're playing games like Zelda or Mario Brothers.
Yeah, that you can be playing for hours.
Yeah, you can be like, you got save points, you got Pokemon. I mean, all that stuff was,
Yeah.
But I mean, the handhelds still were neat. I mean, they were still fun to play, and the funny thing is, they were supposed to be also a watch, which is the Game & Watch, right?
Yeah.
I'd yet to know anybody that actually used one as a watch.
Well, yeah, but back in the 80s when they had the actual LCD video games on watches, everybody was getting them.
I remember that. Yeah, I have one. It's Batman Returns, I think.
Because we had Pac-Man, we had several others, but yeah.
I always wanted the Zelda one. I always saw it in the store, but I just didn't have the money. It was like, oh geez, like maybe $40, $50 or something like that.
Yeah, and back then $40, $50 was like $80
I was a kid still in school, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had an allowance or whatever.
You just sit there and drooled.
Most of my money went into toys. I was buying Transformers still.
Yeah, exactly.
So, to spend like $40, $50 on this little video game. So I used to always go in there and stare at it and be like, I want that. But, I've seen them online still. I've been tempted to try and, pick one up, but I don't know. I mean...
You got to put a stop to it someplace.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I put a few out in my man cave. So I have... I was actually thinking of doing one of my man cave episodes on the handhelds just to show off some of them.
There's your next podcast.
Yeah, because I'm like, I forgot I bought them too. I was digging through a box and I'm like, Pitfall. Oh yeah, I bought that. oh, geez, Keystone Keepers. I forgot I bought. I think they came out much later, and I bought them, and I barely touched them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I remember opening them up and stuff, but it's just like, at that time, I was heavily playing my Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know, so or Super Nintendo. So, you know, when I bought them, it was just like a cool factor.
Yeah.
And it was probably around the same time when the Atari Junior, when I got my first Atari Junior.
Yeah.
Because I never had an Atari as a kid. I had the Intellivision. So when the Junior came out and it was affordable, it was like, you know, then I started playing games like Keystone Capers and stuff.
Right.
So I knew what it was.
Yeah.
So I bought it just based on that, going, cool, a handheld Keystone Caper. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but
no. But the point is, it's Keystone Capers.
it's and the artwork on it looks nice.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
You know, it's not heavy. It's a little light system. But yeah, so I was looking at those, going, geez, I got my Donkey Kong, I got my Super Mario Bros. I got the class. So I'm like, I could probably do a whole episode on that myself.
Exactly.
You know? So, unfortunately, well, I picked Burger Time. So.
No, that's good though. I liked your Burger Time. Anyways, 45 minutes in, so I think it's time to say goodbye. So, any last words?
Want one? No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, I think as we always say, we got lots of ideas coming up, but we would like to hear more from people that watch the show and actually would like to see us talk about something specific, because we can always come up with our own ideas and just go on. And let's just, obviously we do this unscripted. We don't sit here and write out notes and come up with everything.
Oh, no, scripting? No, fuck that.
This is like just us, two guys sitting here talking into a microphone. No editing. It's done live.
Yeah.
So if we screw up, you get to see it. But we would definitely like to get some more ideas.
And more feedback. Give us feedback. We need it.
Yeah, even if it's like your camera angle sucks or...
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Feedback. Feedback.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Okay, so on that note, the Man Cave is...
closed.
Thanks, everybody. And...